Okay, so I mean, the big reference the last few years is around the fact that if you're talking about weight loss, which is obviously not your question, just that as a topic, then it hasn't really been proven to be any different to a controlled calorie deficit. So eating in a normal time window, the same amount of calories, you're going to probably achieve the same goal. However, you know, a lot of people find that intermittent fasting allows them to have a clarity of thought in the morning and be at their best for a few hours. Personally, I like a very small fast. I don't go too long, but I like to be fasted for a few hours in the morning while I do my admin, and then I also get more of an appetite by the time I want to eat. And I've worked with a lot of athletes that just prefer to fast. It helps them feel fresher in the morning. And then there's the obvious benefits of by training when you're fasted, your cardiovascular system is having to work that a bit harder, running on empty. So you get some benefits towards fitness and VO2 max by training fasted. So even with, say, a cruiserweight or a heavyweight boxer who doesn't need to lose weight, you might do time-restricted eating around training because they're going to get fitter. But to go back to your question, around, I suppose, the topic of circadian rhythm resetting, for me, that applies to my immediate thought would be jet lag travel and strategies moving across the globe. But in reference to you, it's also for the music world, for the DJ world, right? So if you're shifting between maybe a time zone and you're also shifting between being awake in the day and flipping from that routine. So yeah, I would, rather than say time restricted eating, I would be really strict around eating at the right time of day for where you're going. So if you're going from having been asleep in the day to awake at night, then you need to be restricting yourself until the necessary time window to eat. And I think as well that comes with sunlight to an extent. So if I give an example, because it's probably easier, if I do, say, personally go London, New York, which I used to do quite a lot, it's a pretty easy time shift. It's only 5 hours. I quite like it. The whole LA shift is much harder, but that first night after the flight, I normally go to bed pretty early and I'm awake at about 4 a.m. So then ideally, rather than, even if I'm hungry at say 4:30 or 5, I'd still wait a little bit longer to have my breakfast. So I try and wait till at least 6, and then also delay my exposure to sunlight, because if I see sunlight, let's say the sun rises at 5:30, let's just say hypothetically, and I go outside for a walk, I see the sunlight, I eat at 5, I see the sun. So then around 12, 14 hours later, which is going to be about 7 o'clock roughly, I'm going to feel so tired. Like if say I'm in New York for 3 weeks, my shift needs to be towards that time zone. So I'm better off, okay, let me try and get to 6, 7 a.m., eat then see sunlight, which is going to then create that natural stopwatch or that timer within the body that says, okay, that's when you saw sunlight. So 12, 14 hours later, it's going to start activating that production of melatonin and drowsiness and sleep. And then you can play tricks in the daytime to achieve energy spikes. So, you know, as you shift time zone, you're going to feel tired probably early afternoon, mid-afternoon. And that's when you really probably want to use, actually, again, time-restricted eating and exercise to give you some energy. Because if you go for like a chocolate bar and you sit in your room, you're probably going to want to fall asleep and take a nap. So I think it should be something that, you know, if you've got a DJ or an athlete that's traveling across the globe and they're maybe even doing, you know, I know there was this event recently in Saudi Arabia for the World Cup. There were a lot of artists coming in for that, but I had lunch with a DJ and one of my friends, and he was like, he'd been all over the place. He'd gone from like America to there, and then he was going back to some other random place, like in the space of 5 days. So I think it's really important to think about when you're exercising and what you're doing, and then also meal timing. So making sure you're eating at the right time of day, and then probably in that first couple of days as you're transitioning, also eating, slightly smaller on volume as well. Like try not to stuff yourself, because that's also going to tie you down digestively. So smaller portions, as well as snacking a little bit in between with pulsing your protein throughout the day.